Well, I don't want to take you back to a dark place, but I think it helps us all understand, because I'm sure you've had letters and messages from thousands of people saying that they can't possibly know what your head was like because they weren't there, but can imagine how tough it was for you. Take us back to the circumstances of that day and what the campaign had been like before you found yourself committing this crime.
Afghanistan is obviously a very challenging environment. You throw in the adverse weather conditions and the amount the average sort of soldier has to carry nowadays when they're out patrolling simply to protect themselves. Add in the fact that people are trying to kill you on a pretty regular basis, and it does wear you down quite considerably. I would say, you know, I'm not suggesting that, you know, I had it any harder or than quite a lot of our serving personnel had in there. It's just a unique set of circumstances that I found myself in, which led to the incident. It
was a horrific experience, wasn't it, where you saw somebody's, you know, you saw many of your close colleagues killed regularly and fearfully, continually living with that. And we since know that actually those serving in that particular at that particular time, I think the figures are more than 50% have since found that they've had mental health problems afterwards.
Yes, I mean, a lot of the guys I serve with have been diagnosed. Some have been discharged from service because of ongoing mental health issues. And, you know, it's one of the good things that come out of Afghanistan in recent years is highlighting mental health in the military and the guys getting the help they need. Not that everybody who's served in Afghanistan develops mental health problems, and you know, and it'd be wrong to suggest that, but it's just important that those who do and are suffering get the help that's available.
And what about you, Claire? Because you're there, you know, married to somebody in the armed forces, you probably have some sense of what he's going through. But when you saw that footage of what he did you think, that's not my husband? Or did you, for the first time, realise what kind of pressure he was under?
Both, I think. It clearly was my husband in his physical form. I recognised him, but like you, although I probably have heard a lot more about the conditions out there and what they had to do, I've never been and I never wish to go, and I can't imagine what it must be like to spend so much time in such an intense environment. So whilst it was difficult viewing, I also could see that, you know, he was struggling.
Did you at any point think, I can't stand by him, I've got to walk away?
It never occurred to me.
Why not?
I don't know. Other people have asked me that, and by asking me that question, I've come to realise that perhaps that could have been an option, but I just never considered it.
Did you worry that she might, Al?
No, I actually, you know, quite early on after my arrest, I said, you know, quite honestly, that if she chose to walk away, I wouldn't hold that against her. It's a difficult situation to find yourself in as a partner of someone, of anyone, regardless of when they're in the armed services and they're going to be facing a lengthy jail sentence. You know, at several stages, I sort of raised the point again that I wouldn't hold it against her if she decided to walk away. I got told in no uncertain terms to stop bringing it up or I'd get a thump.
Wives are like that.
You know, I just think I'm a very lucky person for having a partner that's so strong and stuck by me through this.
Now, people who are watching it may not remember the incident itself. I mean, how comfortable are you talking? I know you've got the book out and you're quite descriptive in the book. Are you comfortable talking about, before we ask you about the actual incident itself? Can you just remind us briefly sort of what happened at that point? From what you were told there was an insurgent, and the procedure is to go to the insurgent and take the gun so the gun doesn't get in the wrong hands, right?
He'd been attacking one of our other locations on the ground with a number of other individuals. He'd been identified leaving the engagement, been engaged by an Apache helicopter and struck several times.
So he was very badly wounded.
Yeah, he was badly wounded.
Yeah.
I was on a patrol, still out on the ground. I was given his location, asked to go and check the body, recover any weapons. And
with your team? Your team,
yeah. We moved to a location in the field where he was, myself and another individual. Moved out to collect his weapons and check him, discovered he was still alive, pass that information up the chain that this guy was still alive. So you start thinking, right, we're going to have to start recovering him. You know, I raised that with my high formations. Yeah, OK, right, now I'm going to need to move him from the middle of the field because there's possibly other insurgents around and you don't stay in the middle of the field in Afghanistan. It became evident to me at that time his wounds were perhaps more severe than I'd initially thought. We gave probably not the best first aid in the world. It's hard looking back to understand what was going through my mind, I think. And then at a point during that, I discharged my firearm into him.
And you know that was wrong?
Yes. I mean, I think, you know, straight away, I know I made a mistake. It's quite evident.
And after all these years, have you managed to explain that to yourself?
No, I think it's been one of the hardest things for me to understand what I was thinking and why I did that. You know, if I look at it, the situation in general, the fact that I discharged my firearm into the individual didn't change his outcome. He was that badly injured. It's my firm belief if he wasn't already dead, he was not going to survive that day.
I mean, you know, the description of his injuries in the book that I've read, I mean, they are horrific. They're not just a broken limb or something. They're quite severe.
No, right? and I think up until the point I had the mental health diagnosis, it was something I really struggled with, understanding why. That helped a small amount because...
Did you think of it in your head as a mercy killing, or did it come from a place of anger for all the atrocities on your colleagues that you'd seen had happened before?
I don't think that's a question I can answer. It's still that unclear in my mind. You know, I can only really sort of begin to understand part of it because of the mental health diagnosis. If I hadn't have had that, I've been struggling probably more than I do now.
I mean, what do you make of it, Claire?
I just, if he can't explain it, I wouldn't know where to start.
No.
I mean, I sort of get intrigued by, and I was thinking about this last night when I was reading your book, and sort of, you think about what's the workplace culture like where you are. I mean, for most people, if you think about their jobs, they work in an office, or they're a footballer, they're an actor, presenters, you can imagine what their workplace might be to a certain degree. I mean, in yours, it's a bizarre thing. I mean, you're there, you know, legally, but to kill another human being because they are a threat to us.
Yes.
I mean, that in itself is not a natural human place to be. It's not a natural human action for most people, for every human being. So to be trained in that, I just wonder whether all the training in the world that you have, whether it can prepare you for that sort of situation at all.
I don't know, and it's probably slightly above the pay grade I was at. I think training is very good. I mean, I enjoyed my time in the Royal Marines and was thankful for the experiences I had there. I think it's a marvellous organisation. You know, I think...
Did you feel betrayed when the case was brought against you? No.
I don't hold any animosity towards the military defence, the armed forces, the Royal Marines. As I said, I loved my time in the Royal Marines. We felt greatly supported by the Royal Marines family during my incarceration and subsequently since I've been released. You know, they've been, you know, they've provided the level of support that we've asked for.
And let's talk about what you're doing now, because you're doing some amazing stuff with veterans, aren't you?
Yeah, I work for a community interest company, so similar to a charity, but dealing with interwork support for veterans, signposting if they have mental health issues and
what kind of conditions are you finding them in? What are they?
It varies. You know, some of the guys. I mean, you go from one extreme where we're helping guys who are homeless, living on the street, have been out of service quite a long time, trying to get them back into accommodation, dealing with substance abuse issues. From a guy who may be in employment but is just looking for someone to give him a little bit of a sounding board to help him move on to a better job or a different career path.
It's incredible to think that an ex-soldier or a Marine could end up homeless on the streets.
I mean, it's horrifying.
Surely there is pastoral care from when you finish serving. But how do they escape that kind of system?
Well, to be fair, a lot of the guys we're dealing with are guys who've been out for a while, so they may have had some transitional help from the military as they've exited, and they may have gone on to have a brief, successful career. and things have come up. You know, life can be hard for everybody, not just for those in the military. And
it's great that you're there to help them.
Yeah.
What are you two like? Because it's an interesting relationship that you've had, isn't it, over the last few years? How has it left your marriage?
We're good.
Who's going to answer first?
They check each other quickly.
We're very used to spending time apart. Initially, clearly, when he was serving overseas, and then when he was in prison. So we're getting used to being under each other's feet, but we're enjoying it.